The topic tonight is going to be one microphone. One mic for a few reasons. One, because you got to learn to capture drum sound with one mic. The more you know about that, the easier it is to set up multiple mics on the drum set. As you get that overhead down, we really emphasize more of the tubby part of the kit, the drums, the toms, the snare, the beef. And it kind of de-emphasizes the cymbals a little bit. And it makes the drums come out. It's alive. It doesn't sound dull. It's no EQ, and it sounds like it's got some top end. Now I'll bring in the kick and the overheads. So let's look at this from the position of you're at home in your home studio and you have maybe, let's say you have 4 or 5 different microphones. Maybe get a good kick, a good snare, and a good pair of overheads first. You do that right and you're golden. It's insane. That microphone is the same distance from the snare as the overheads. And when it's pointing away from the kit, we get the room, which is so cool. Ribbon. Three entirely different sounds. Complete different sounds that are all very usable in different ways. The ribbon, fat, beefy, a lot of low mids. We're going to move this mic up and down. Now what's going to happen is it's going to act like an EQ. The lower the mic gets, the more low end we're going to capture. Right away, you got more kick drum. Now, the higher it goes, the less low end and less kick drum we're going to get. Therefore, it's going to have more high end, more mid-range to it. Definitely more cymbal now. Go to the right. So we went from like hard panned to about right here, and we still have a nice stereo image. There, just the way the overheads were, they're out of phase with the snare. Listen what happens when I flip the phase on the overheads. We hear the body of the snare come back. That's important, always check the phase. Today I want to talk about recording drums and getting a full, real rock sound with only a few mics. Okay, so there you have it. That is rock drum sound, 5 mics, in a rock song that has good panned, doubled guitars, big rock bass, big vocals, and it totally works. And that is how every song should end, with the very light 2 bars of bossa nova. Good evening, everybody. How are we all doing this Wednesday? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. Oh, I got to take the earplugs out. Last Wednesday, fantastic broadcast with Cosmo Squad. Kicked off 217 in, ultra high fashion. We had a great time. Thank you guys for joining us on that. We're getting ready to release some of that video. Got a couple mixes on the tunes, so we'll see how that goes. Today, well, first off, one of the questions that I get quite a bit is, my room doesn't sound that good, or it's too splashy, or I'm in, my basement and it's small and it doesn't sound that good, and I can't get good drum sounds. And I'm here to tell you that even in the tiniest of rooms, you can get if not a great drum sound, at least something very workable that in some cases may be great, and in any case will be great for pre-production. So one of the things, today, the topic of today is we're going to talk about preparing your room to record. Now, we've pulled all on the sides of the room, we've pulled, and even behind me, there's no absorption. So over here, I can hear my voice splashing off the walls. This room isn't overly live, but it is much brighter. And what we're going to do is we're going to use some different gobos. We're going to use my real traps that a lot of you have probably seen in the videos already. We're going to use some Oralex, I think they call them Maxwell stands. Or, well, the stands are Maxwell. I can't know. They're just big, maybe 4-inch thick pieces of foam on stands. And then we're going to try to see if we can dampen the drum sound or dampen the room out with some good old-fashioned blankets. Some of you have got the dough and you want to go buy the gobos. I highly recommend it because it makes life easy. They're easy to move around. They're built well. They'll last. You can stack them in some cases. You know, they make life easy. A lot of you may already have some of the foam. I know on Craigslist it's easy to find some of the Oralex stuff on good deals. And that stuff can really work at least to kill reflection. Now, if you're broke, don't have the money, get blankets out, man. And we're going to try all 3 of these just to see if we can see how it changes the drum sound, see how it maybe affects the drums in the room, see how maybe it changed the snare sound, the kick sound, that sort of thing. Everybody's room's a little different. The smaller the room, the worse the reflections will be. You know, I've got, I mean, on either side of me, that's got to be a good, 8 or 9 feet, and that's at least 10 feet that way. So, behind me it's maybe 4.5 feet, something like that. So I've got some space from the wall, so I'm not getting too much direct stuff back. But if, say this room was half this size and I had a wall, like here at the edge of the carpet, I'd want to basically try to deaden this wall as much as I can to take it out of play. Now, the one thing that we won't be able to demonstrate tonight is a short ceiling. But these same rules apply. Basically, anywhere there's a boundary, whether it's a wall, the floor, the ceiling, the closer you are to that, there's a good chance that you're getting a lot of splashback into your microphones. And in some cases, that's not a bad thing. You really kind of have to do a little recording, listen back, go, hey, is that the right sound? If the ceilings can cause some comb filtering with your overheads, in that case, foam is the best thing there because it's really easy to hang. You can get 2 or 3 inch, even 4-inch thick foam and just kind of glue it up there, or even just some finishing nails just to hold it. And that effectively would take your ceiling out of the play. What I want to try to do today is, with these different products that we're going to use, of varying degrees of cost as well, we're going to see how we can tame, I don't know if you can hear that, but we got some nice, there's some flutter echo, it's really bright. We're going to see how we can tame that. The first thing we're going to use, well here, I'm going to do a camera move here, just to show you what we got going. You can see on this wall, this diffuser you see here is actually way back in the room, but we've taken it off and there's none over on that side either. So we've made the room as wide open as we can possibly make it. And the first thing we're going to try, and you guys have probably seen these in the videos, is the real traps. These are 4 inches thick, rigid fiberglass. This stuff is pro stuff. I mean, they make really good products. These things last. They take a beating. They're built well. They work. Now, this is some high quality rigid fiberglass. So it's going to do more than just kill reflection. This is a broadband absorber. And as we get it close to a drum set, kind of pay attention to the kick and the snares and see how that affects our tone. The next thing, sure you guys have seen these. These are Oralex panels. They fit on a stand. You can raise them up and down. We use little mic clips just to keep them at certain heights. We use these for a lot of stuff actually. When we're in this room, we'll build our little vocal forts when we're doing vocals with these because it does a nice job of just killing the room reflection so we can get a nice vocal. We're going to see how this affects putting behind the drum set, if it helps kind of tame our reflections in our room and tightens things up. And finally, good looking blanket, isn't it? This is the next thing. This I've done a bunch of times. I've seen other people do it. What I've got going is we've got a mic stand. You can use cymbal stands. I mean, you could use anything really that you can hang this on. And I'm just going to drape it over here. Now, this is really just going to kill reflection, high-end reflection, some slap back off the walls of cymbals and room sound. It's not dense enough. We're going to use packing blankets. Actually, is usually what I really like. You can see this, but the packing blankets are a little more dense. This is a quilt that actually is pretty heavy. And we're going to see if this can do an effective job of taking care of some of our room reflections. Because it's cheap. I'm sure everybody's got a comforter at home. Everybody's got a couple. You know, go take the comforter off your mom's bed. Just have it back, you know, so she doesn't know you're taking it. And hang this stuff. Anything you can get your hands on. If you've got a small room that's really live, that's too live, you know, get anything you can that will absorb or break up that reflection. And blankets, we're going to find out, but they can work well. Now this could also go for other instruments. If, say, we had an acoustic guitar in here and we wanted, the room was a bit too much and we wanted to focus it, we could easily use the reel trap panels, put them on the sides. You know, depending on where the mics are pointing, really. We're going to start on the sides of the drum set because our overhead mics are kind of looking this direction. So I want to take up some of what's happening here. So where the mic is seeing the most, we're going to put a barrier there. Same thing with acoustic guitars. Like I said, vocals, even electric guitar cabs in here. We use these all the time. We'll, even especially if we're stacking them next to each other, we'll put them in between each other, maybe have something on the ground so we're not getting a hard reflection back up. Kind of like for the drums. We've got carpet down here. That's kind of our first defense and reflection. Now, having said that, not all reflection is bad. Sometimes it's good. Every room's going to be different. If it's a smaller room, it becomes more of a problem. And this is, we're going to find out if these ways can help you tame that sound. How? You ready to do it, buddy? We're going to start with how, just playing a groove in the room. Then I'm going to go in there for just a second. Then Ernesto and I are going to come out here, and we're going to start by putting 2 reel traps on each side of the drum set. And we're just going to start building around to see how that affects the reflection in the room. You ready to do it, brother? So you're going to play a micro Blastinova. It's a new thing I've been working on. Woohoo! All right. Ooh, my headphones are loud. That's it. Yeah. It's a whole new style. We're going to get it out lately. How you doing, everybody? Nice quilt. Yes, Jonathan, it is one heck of a quilt, isn't it? All right. So, hey, can you hear me there, buddy? Just play me a groove. You don't need about it. Oh, I don't. Oh, you're the man. Yeah, just play a groove with some cymbals and fills, and let's just hear what the room sounds like wide open. Solo up the overheads. Cool, cool. So again, this room is not really live. It's a great rock room actually because it's just got enough life to it that things sound open but not too bouncy. But it is way more splashy than I'm used to hearing with nothing on the walls. So let's just start with maybe go, 4 bars of a hat groove with a simple fill, 4 bars of a ride groove, and just real simple fills in between. And Ernesto, you want to go out? We're going to start with sticking the reel traps on the sides. actually dried things up a little bit. The snare really changes with those. All right. Now, one thing, like I said, with anything like the Real Traps or companies that are like them, like I think GIK Acoustics is another one, and there's a few, you're getting some really high quality dense rigid fiberglass in there. So it's a broadband absorber, so they're effectively doing more than just killing your reflection. The thinner the material is, the higher the frequency that it's going to affect. So it's, for instance, say you just have some 1-inch, just, you know, good old foam, right? That's not going to do much for anything but your high end, probably 6K and up, you know. And I'm just, there's plenty of, you know, Oralex actually has some really good stuff on their site with the actual frequencies that are affected by the thickness and the density of the product. But the thicker it gets, the lower the frequency that it will start to affect. And a good high quality 4-inch absorber can affect things, because even the snare now I hear kind of just a little body has gone. It is taking some the side to side reflection, but it's also affecting the tone of the kit. So let's keep these up. Play again. I'm going to solo the overheads. Now what we're going to do is, it's still, you know, a little just sloppy sounding. So we're going to take, let's go to our foam. So how, you want to play that same, keep playing that same groove. We're going to take those Oralex foam, the big pieces of foam that's on the stands, and we're going to pull them in behind the drum set to start with. Stay on the hat. That definitely tightened things up. 2, 3. That definitely changed things. Most likely, here's the reason why in this room that made almost more of a difference than having the gobos on the side. And that's because within a few feet, I think it's actually about 4 feet right behind Hal, is that wall, and it's reflecting right back into the drum set. So we put a barrier in between that, and instantly that changes kind of the air, the space around the entire kit. But you hear the snares a little bit drier. Even the kick drum note is shorter. And we've tightened the whole drum sound up. Now, again, like I said, not all reflection is bad. You've got to kind of take into account what your room sounds like, how bad the reflection is, and where your kit is. Because even your kit being against a wall isn't necessarily a bad thing. We used to record in the corner a lot and not have any sort of absorption behind it, and it sounds great, but you're not getting a direct reflection. A lot of the times we're in rooms that are either a bedroom, a basement, a rehearsal space, and they're just small square boxes. And that's probably our worst case scenario because we've just got parallel walls throwing sound back in. So what I would say is erring on the side of dampening more, because you could always, if you need to, add some reverb to add some life back. But if you get too much splash and all of a sudden your hi-hats are taken over or the cymbals are taken over, that's really hard to get rid of. Lewis, what do you say? The drums get closer like in the face. Yes, that's, yeah, exactly what's happening. We focus the drums. In this case, they've got definitely a lot more focused. Now the fun part. We're going to try it with some blankets. Because, you know, this, I actually learned this from a friend of mine that had a nice kind of home studio set up. And every time I'd go record, he'd stick 2 mic stands with packing blankets just right in front of the kit right before we record. We were like, why are you putting blankets in front of my face? And he took them off one day, and it was a smaller room. Like, in front of the kit, it was maybe only about 5 feet, 6 feet to the wall. And man, the cymbal splash coming back was really bad. And he was just using the blankets to take up kill reflection, because they're not going to do the same as the real traps, or even those Auralex are helping focus the kit. They are changing the mid-range and the low mids a little bit. We're going to go to these blankets, and that's not going to be the case. All right, blanket time and my awesome quilt. Don't play yet, Al. Got the lav on. So we're going to reset a little bit here. We're going to pull these guys out of the way. We're going to go back to our open setup. Just to kind of reset the ears. Actually, man, putting these coming in behind made the biggest difference. Taking the wall out of play. Boom. All right, so we're back to normal. We'll do, so you've got 2 blankets there, and I've got 2 here. So we're gonna do the same thing. Hal's gonna start jamming his AC/DC groove. Everybody's like, man, that's the AC/DC groove. I like AC/DC. That's a desert island band for me right there. You give me Back in Black and Highway to Hell, and pretty much everything else can fuck off. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have, I got the lav on, so don't play yet. I'm gonna go back in there for a second, shut the lav off. Hal's gonna start playing, and we're gonna start walking these blankets in while he's playing in real time. We're gonna stick 2 behind, 1 right here and right here, and we're getting them as close to him as possible because we actually, they work better there. The further they get away, the less effect they actually had. So we're gonna get them tight right here, and 1 right here, and 1 on the other side, just like we have the others. So we'll go, that'll go in the back, and this will go in the back, and then the green one and the blue one will get on the sides. All right, let me kill the lav. Wow. 2, 3, 4, boom. Remember when I made that whole rant about everyone should wear earplugs? That snare is so loud. I'm in there with no earplugs, man. I'm actually surprised at how well this can work just to kill reflection. In a pinch, blankets can go a long way to help and clean some stuff up, especially if you're really, hey, play a crash, like a groove on the crash. Perry, you said it exactly. The cymbals are more focused and more in control, even just from blankets, which work well. And everybody's got some blankets or a comforter that they can use. You know, don't, or you know what, can you see these? Here, hold on. Another thing you can do, if you're handy, see if I can get this in the picture over here. See these guys? These, I built a frame out of 1x4s, 1x4 pine. It's got 4 inches of rigid fiberglass in here. And then I have just a very breathable, my bad, a very breathable fabric over the top of it that is stapled to the 1x4, and then I just use some, I actually don't even know what this is called. It's just basically covers the edges to make it kind of look nice. And it's essentially the same thing that the real traps are, a heck of a lot cheaper. If you're handy and want to build stuff, this is a way to go right here. But the blankets can work real well. So think of it this way. If you just need to kill some cymbals, and every room is different, you know, mine isn't like crazy live, so we don't really have too many problems with that. However, these exact techniques I've used in smaller rooms, like the blanket thing here, I learned from a friend of mine who had a much smaller studio, and it worked fantastic. Comforters that are thick and heavy will work really well too. If you're handy, there's plenty of schematics you can get online. You can make your own gobos. Get on Craigslist. You can usually find some stuff really cheap. I know even LA Sound Panels here in LA has some panels like this at really, really affordable rates. You know, but if you're in a smaller room, err on the side of kind of drying things out more, because with drums, especially cymbals, it can be a freaking nightmare. Like I'm sure a lot of you guys already know, man, it's a freaking nightmare when cymbals just take over a mix, especially hi-hats. All of a sudden, you know, you're trying to pan your overheads and it just sounds like the hi-hat's in the center because it's getting it's bouncing off all the walls. Absorb that stuff. If you're just killing reflection, it doesn't need to be too thick. It just needs to be, you know, if you put t-shirts or something up, it's not going to do anything. Heavy packing blanket, go down to U-Haul, get some of those, steal the comforter. It'll work with no problem. And it'll work really well too. But give it a try. Move the drums around in the room. Try it with vocals. Try it with your guitar amp. Anything that you've got that you need to kind of contain what's going in the room or even limit it, make your own little fort, man. It'll totally work. Try to use mic placement to your advantage too. In this case, we're running the overheads are a pair of, what do we have up today, Hal? Those 4050s? Which I think was a question. I think I saw that. Yeah, the mics, the kick is ATM 250, snare is my trusty old the Pro 63, and we've got the 4050s in an ORTF. So they're just slightly pointing to the sides. And if you can use that mic placement to your advantage, that the direction of the mic. So we got cardioid mics up there, so they're not getting a whole lot from the back. They're kind of looking left and right, which is where we have a blanket in this case on both of those sides. So where the mic is seeing, it's seeing what it needs to record, and then behind that it's got a barrier that's helping kill some of that reflection coming back. So give this a shot in your room, big, small, whatever. Let me know how it turns out. You know, even, man, shoot a little video, post it. Let's see, you know, come up with a way to kind of tame the reflections or focus the sound. It's not always about just taming reflections. Sometimes We use the reel traps all the time on the side because we want to kind of focus the sound, kind of dry things up a little bit without making it dead. So you can use it to control splash and make your room usable, or you can use it to kind of help focus your sound a little bit. You just killed my dog ears. Sorry, Jared. You guys, man, I'm sorry about that. I hit the wrong button, knocked the faders up a little too much. What do I think about wooden panels like pieces of blocks? I don't quite understand the pieces of blocks. Wooden panels can... Wood's going to have some sort of reflective property to it. I mean, like in the back there, we've got the big diffusers. It's really smooth, but they're poly diffusers. But it's reflecting everything off it pretty even. If you have a more roughed up wood or something, it's going to reflect a lot less. And I've seen actually kind of, you know, gobos on wheels that are one side it's fiberglass and the other side is actually wood, so you can turn it around to add a little bit of reflection, or you just flip it around the other way and you've got an absorber. And those can actually be quite good. Jared, I don't know, meow. So that's what we've got going. Oh, diffusers, yeah, that's what I'm talking. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Yeah, those type of diffusers can work really well if they're... Now, one thing about the skyline type diffusers, which is what we have on one of the walls that are not there today, I usually wouldn't get too close to those because they don't tend to sound as nice the closer you get to them, especially the ones that are made of the, you know, the polystyrene or the styrofoam or whatever. You get within 2 feet of those and they start to have a nasally effect. But if you're at least 4 or 5 feet or more away, they do a great job of diffusing. However, I have seen some photos actually from Skywalker Sound where they've got violin players or string players and they have a 4 or 5 foot wooden diffuser, very thick or very deep, 8-10 inches deep, because again, kind of like the thickness of the material you're using to absorb something, the thicker or the deeper it is, the lower the frequency it will affect. If you have something that's only 2 inches deep, it's high end. Maybe some of your upper mid-range, but it's mainly high end. You get something that's 8-10 inches deep, you'll get down into your low mids and your low end on that. So I've seen, at Skywalker Ranch or Skywalker Sound, they had string players, and right behind them, these super deep skyline type diffusers. And I'm sure if they're doing it, it sounded pretty well. Most of the stuff that we're buying or making, if it's that type of diffuser, I would probably stay away. If it's if it's a flat kind of diffuser, or oh man, I'm spacing on the name of the other type, quadratic diffuser. Those usually, even if you get kind of close to them, you'll still be fine. The same with the poly diffusers that are on the wall. I know it's hard to see in the video, but they are about this deep, and it's a kind of a cylinder. And those, I love poly diffusers because they're even. We could shove drums or anything right back on them, and it would still sound good. And it would still not just throw sound directly back into them. I love poly diffusers for that reason. Yeah, it all depends on what you're looking for when you're recording, and a lot of it depends on your, what your room's doing. Your room may be okay and you don't need too much of this, or it may be really bad and you need to put as many blankets in there as you can. Lewis, don't worry about it, man. I got you. Jared, help me out there, meow. Yeah, you've seen those pictures too, Jared. I know, it's kind of crazy. What about the setup for putting a moving blanket around the bass drum for control? Yes, that is sticks to slivers. We're getting to that. We've got Tunnel Week coming up here in a few weeks. I'm going to announce the schedule next week, but yeah, with bass drum Tunnel Week's coming up, man. We're cooking up some good stuff. So anyway, that's what we got for today, guys. Thanks for joining us. Let me know if any of these helped in your room, or if you had to alter and use something different that worked. Man, report back to the crew, because I'm sure there's plenty of people in here that would love to hear the ways that where everybody's containing their room and getting some killer ass drum sounds. Jared, wooden panels on the wall, convex. Yeah, they are. So it's a poly diffuser that's 6 inches at the center, about that deep, and about like that shape. and they work well. They, like I said, they sound good. And on the back side of those, I have about 1 inch, but there's like ribs. You know, I don't know if you can see in the video, but you can see like the black dots. That's where the panel is screwed into the ribs. And in between those, we just have a very thin piece of rigid fiberglass just to take some of that harsh absorption that's coming back off the wall into the back of the diffuser. Works really well, and cheap, man. I think the drywall was 40 bucks a piece, and it only cost me about 20 bucks total to build the frames for both. Man, not, like I said, if you got some tools, you got a friend that's got some tools, man, you can build a lot of this stuff and save a ton of dough. So anyway, you guys, thanks again for joining us. Hal, what are you gonna play out? Give me something. That's my boy right there, back in black, Holmes. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Take care. The hell, did I turn the lab off?